Among Christians, we have a lot of Christians in many parts of the world. Around 74% of Christians in Ethiopia claim to have witnessed exorcisms. My student Paul Mokake talked about a woman writhing like a serpent as sea spirits were cast out. Now, sea spirits is what they're called locally. I don't know if they actually have anything to do with the sea, although local beliefs are that they do. Another case, Nepali pastor Mina KC. Now, being unable to speak is not always caused by a demon. It can be caused by all sorts of things. Usually it's caused by physical problems. But in this case, there were 3 different sisters who'd all become mute at one time and had remained unable to speak for 3 years. When Mina KC cast out the spirit, they were all immediately healed. Robin Snugger, the head of the Department of Industrial Psychology at Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, recounts his own former experience of an alien personality controlling him. He tried everything to get rid of it. Psychiatry, drugs, other things. Nothing was effective until it was spontaneously exorcised through a Christian. I interviewed Serena Costa Estevez in Cuba, and she told me about her conversion back in 1988. She had been dealing with spirits. I don't know if she was in Santeria, but she was dealing with spirits, invoking spirits. She was too sick to walk because of her heart and kidney malfunctions. Some pastors prayed for her. She was instantly healed of everything, and she became a follower of Jesus. Are these real spirits, or is this psychosomatic recovery? Edith Turner is a lecturer in anthropology at the University of Virginia. She's the editor of the journal Anthropology and Humanism. She's also the widow of famous anthropologist Victor Turner. Edith Turner claims that when she was present during a traditional African ritual, she witnessed spirit substance ejecting. This was during a Zambian spirit ritual. It was not Christian, and she's not stating this from a Christian perspective. She's stating this from the perspective of an anthropologist who happened to be present and actually saw something visible happen. That she's not saying this from a Christian standpoint can, I think, be verified by the fact that she teaches her students to experience spirits as well, which is, from a Christian perspective, probably not a good thing, but they don't always agree with us, we don't always agree with them, but we're called to love our neighbor whether we agree with them or not. But just to illustrate that people have witnessed these things even when they're not part of their worldview originally. Anthropologist Solon Kimball, during field work in Ireland, an apparition began moving towards him. His hand went through it. He discovered that many others had seen the same figure in the area at times independently of him. And he said, well, maybe it's something cultural in the air. Globally, most majority world Christians accept the reality of spirits. And they've convinced an increasing number of Westerners who have been open to it. And I could give a number of examples of that. But there was one Bible translator in a rural region in South America, and he was saying, well, actually, you shouldn't believe in these spirits that you talk about. And they say, they're all around us. Everybody can see them except you. And they're in this Bible that you translate. I mean, you may not take them literally, but they're right there. In any case, in the West, with the Enlightenment, we had a proper reaction to superstition. And there is often a lot of superstition surrounding spirits and other things. But in our reaction to superstition, we threw out the possibility of spirits altogether. Maybe a more critical approach would be to look at the evidence for individual cases. Psychiatrist Scott Peck, a very well-known psychiatrist, said that most supposed demons, most things that people thought were demons, he thought were just psychological problems. But he encountered 2 cases that couldn't be explained in any other way except these had to be real demons. William Wilson, a professor emeritus of psychiatry at Duke University, and many others have noticed these things. Not to say that everybody has experienced them, but enough people have experienced them and laid their own academic credibility on the line even by saying it. Some people don't like to do that, but there's a very well-known New Testament scholar today, David Brewer, who originally worked he was planning to be a psychiatrist, and he was making his rounds in the hospital, and he went to this. He works at Tyndall House at Cambridge. But back then he was making his rounds with psychiatry. He was beside the bed of this person who was just appeared to be asleep, and quietly, the person couldn't hear him. Quietly, David was just in himself praying, God, please help this person. The person suddenly sat up, stuck his finger in his face, and said, "Let him alone, he's mine." Encounters like that tend to make a person more apt to believe that they're actually spirits. Well, this next one is from David Van Gelder. He's a professor of counseling. This was published in a counseling journal. There was a 16-year-old who was acting like an animal. There was a crucifix in the wall. It fell from the wall. The nails actually melted. That is not a personality disorder. And David Van Gelder and some of his colleagues, counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists, they came to try to help this person. Their professional diagnosis, this is not epilepsy, this is not psychosis, this is not anything else that we can explain in these other ways. But they were Christians, and they said to him, well, try this, say Jesus is Lord. And instead something came out in a very different voice. "You fools, he can't say that." Well, finally, they cast it out in Jesus' name. But again, there are spirits. At least I believe that there are spirits, and I think there are good reasons to believe so. One of my brothers-in-law, this is my brother-in-law who lives in Brazzaville. He's a professor of chemistry at the University of Brazzaville, has a PhD from France, just like my wife does, Emmanuel Masanga. And he told me various accounts as well. One of them was an account of 3 boys who attended the Sunday school class that Emmanuel taught. Emmanuel, again, he's a scientist. He's not somebody who's easily gullible. He's a believer in Jesus, but he also knows things when he sees them. In this case, there were these 3 boys. They were members of a Sunday school class, and one boy, the eldest, got sick. And after a couple months, he died. As soon as he died, the second one got sick. And after about a month, he died. Immediately, the third one got sick. And at that point, the third one came to Emmanuel and the other Sunday school teachers and said, "Please pray for me. This was supposed to be a secret. If we let it be known, then the spell wasn't going to work. But obviously, it's not working anyway." We met this man on the street who told us that we would have supernatural ability to become government ministers. We would become very prosperous people if we would just give him a little bit of our blood. And he took the blood from each of us with a knife. The youngest one didn't want to let it happen, but he said they forced him to. And soon after that, the 3 boys could talk among themselves. The oldest one had a nightmare where this same man came and stabbed him with the same knife. Immediately he fell sick. The night that he died, the second one had the same nightmare. And the night that he died, the third one had the same nightmare. So he came to the Sunday school teacher and said, "Please pray for me." They prayed and fasted during the day for 9 days. And then they came and they laid hands on him, they prayed for him, and he was healed. And I talked with my brother-in-law more recently, and the boy is still, the young man is still fine. But that is something that wouldn't easily be explained as other than, there really are demons at work. And these things were uncomfortable to me. They didn't fit my own worldview. I didn't actually think demons had the power to do anything outside of a person's head. I believed in spirits as a Christian. I saw them in the Bible, but I didn't think they could do anything else. Until a couple of years ago, actually, I was reading the book of Job and realized, oh yes, Satan did blow that house down on top of Job's children.